Tere hommikust kõigile. Ma loodan, et mind hästi kuulda. Alustame nüüd meie veebinari. Good morning everyone. Mina olen Jevgeni Prominionist, kus töötan personalitarkvara SAP SuccessFactors tehnilise konsultandina. Igaks juhuks juhin teie tähelepanu sellele, et meie webinar salvestatakse ja on hiljem järele vaadatav. Kui te ei räägi, palun hoidke oma mikrofon mute olekus. Mul on hea meel, et te kõik olete tulnud täna vaatama meie webinari. Õnneks ma ei ole siin üksi, vaid mul on väga ägedad külalised Soomest ehk Soome SAP-i müügijuht Ettu Muskart, kes jagab meiega huvitavaid fakte SAP SuccessFactors'i kohta ja suurima jaotusvõrguettevõtte Caruna Oy personalijuht Toimunud, kes jagab oma personalitarkvara kasutuskogemust ja õppetunde selle tarkvaraga. Ja loomulikult minu väga hea kolleeg Roman Erapart, kes töötab Prominionis müügidirektorina ja Roman räägib meile täna sellest, kuidas luua parem töötajakogemus ettevõttes, mis on eriti aktuaalne uue reaalsuse tingimustes. Aga enne kui me selle teema juurde nüüd läheme, ma tahaks kindlasti öelda seda, et teil on väga hea võimalus meiega kaasa mõelda, jätta oma kommentaare ja küsida küsimusi chatis siin samas all, millele me kindlasti vastame webinari lõpus. Aga nüüd ma arvan, et me liigume siis meie tänase webinari teema juurde ja ma annan sõna esimesele esinejale. Palun, Roman.
Tere hommikust ka minu poolt, et olen Roman ja siis mina räägin natukene põgusalt siis Prominionist ja mida me teeme väga lühidalt ja juhatan ka sisse põgusalt ka meie tänase teema, et millisest konkreetsest moodulist me siis täna räägime, kogu see täna läbi teema siis. Prominion, me oleme siis suht selline nišikas ettevõtte. Meie ülesanne on siis pakkuda lahendusi, mis tegelevad inimestega. Ja need oleme teinud pilvelahendusi juba üsna pikalt ja enamalt keskendunud siis klienditeeninduse süsteemidele ja ka personali haldamise süsteemidele. Et pilvelahendus, et miks me juba alguses sellega oleme tegelenud, on see, et tihti me näeme olukordi, kus on kliendil mingisugune süsteem pandud koha peale, mis ongi kümneid aastaid püsinud samana, nipet-näpet natukene muudetud, aga pilves pakutavad lahendused täna on sellised, mis muutuvad pidevalt. Me oleme alustasime kunagi Eestist. Meil on üksus ka Leedus olemas ja ehk siis tegutseme Balti riikides, räägime kohalikus keeles, aitame kohalikke kliente ja meie äri on viinud meid ka tegelikult üsna palju välismaale, Skandinaaviasse ja teistesse Euroopa riikidesse. 2007 aastal oleme saavutanud partnerluse SAP-iga, sellest ajast saadik me pakume siis ka SAP-i tooteid. Ning meie portfellis ongi siis täna 3 põhilist toodet, need on kõik SAP-i tooted. Täna siis räägime SuccessFactors'ist, mis on siis tööjõu juhtimise tarkvara. Siis me räägime ka, et mida selle konkreetsest moodulist, seal on palju mooduleid. Meie põhitooted on ka veel lisaks veel CRM-i tooted, klienditeeninduse ja müügi jaoks ja siis contact center, mis on meil siis suhtluse platvorm. Räägiks siis natukene ka sellest, et miks me mingist platvormist täna üldse räägime. Et meil on väga palju küsimusi, millega ettevõtte juhid peavad tegelema, siis personalijuhid, osakonnajuhid ja nii edasi. Kui ma nii-öelda võtaks seda kokku, siis me oleme ju pidevalt muutuses. Meil on täna on meil taksoäpid olemas, meil on lüpsirobotid olemas, meil on koristamisrobotid olemas. Ja kõik need asjad, tehnoloogiad, need ju võtavad järjest sellised rutiinseid töid üle. Ja inimestele kokkuvõttes jäävad igapäevaselt järjest sellised väärtuslikumad tööd, mis on keerulisemad. Ja kogu see protsess ju, niisugune muutumine ju kestab ju pidevalt. See on järjest kiirem ja kiirem. Täna on ju meil ju veel lisaks uus reaalsus. Juba aasta otsa olnud koroona. Mis tähendab ju seda, et inimesed peavad üksteise vahel hoidma distantsi, peavad töötama kodunt. Tegelikult see ju reaalsus sellisel kujul, isegi ilma koroonata, ta on ju tegelikult juba olnud mõnda aega. Üsna palju ettevõtteid, kus me teame, et kontoris ongi 20 töökohta, aga tegelikult töötajaid ettevõttel on juba mingi 70 või 100 või isegi rohkem. Ja meil on vaja ju tegelikult ettevõttena ju täita eesmärke, et me tahame müüki kasvatada, me tahame laieneda uutele turgudele ja selleks meil on vaja ju kuidagi kommunikeerida edasi ka inimesteni ja panna iga inimene tegema mingi kindlat eesmärki täitma, mingi kindlat tööd tegema. Ja samas, nagu ka uuringud on näidanud, siis mida motiveeritum on inimene, mida innustatum on inimene, seda paremini ta seda tööd teeb. Ja me võiks ju neid IT-lahendusi ja kõiki süsteeme ju lapata hunnikusse virnade viisi. Iga päev võtame mingi uue äppi kasutusele, et kas või vaatame meie klienditeeninduse sektorist, kus tihtipeale on niimoodi, et klienditeenindajal täna on mingisugune 10 erinevat programmi ees lahti, võib-olla isegi rohkem. Ja tegelikult me tahaks tegelikult ju ka jooksvalt koondada neid asju kõiki ühte kohta. Ja meil on vaja ju ka asju tegelikult planeerida, me tahame ju teada, millal meil on vaja järgmisi töötajad, millal meil on vaja töötajad välja vahetada. Ja see on ju pidev nõudlus sellele, et seda tuleb teha lihtsalt. Aga meil on tegelikult selle jaoks olemas lahendus. Ja suures pildis SuccessFactors teeb hästi palju sellest ära. Aitab vähemalt töövahendina seda teha. Ja kui me vaatame niisugust väiksema firma olukorda, siis seal on ka suurtes firmades tihtipeale on niisugused lihtsad hügieenifaktorid on ära täidetud. Et me suudame arvestada palka, eks ole, puhkusepäevi, töötunde. Meil on olemas võib-olla mingisugused kohad, kus me hoiame inimeste kvalifikatsiooni kohta andmeid ja nii edasi. Aga tegelikult ju inimestega tegelemine on lisaks sellele ka ju, neid on vaja ka juhtida ja suunata. Ja SuccessFactors on niisugune töövahend, millesse on kaasatud kogu personal. Et see ei ole lihtsalt see, et ma saan korra kuus mingisugust palgalehte, mis tuleb mulle e-maili peale. Või et mul on koht, kus ma märgin oma puhkusepäevi või puudumata puudumisi. Et see on kõik kõvasti suurem asi. Ja mooduleid on seal üsna palju, et alates siis organisatsiooni moodulitest, töötajate moodulid, analüütika moodulid, mobiiliäpp, talendi moodulid ja tegelikult on seal mooduleid üle 10, pluss veel igasugu lisarakendused, mida siis pakuvad kõik võimalikud partnerid ja abid liidestamiseks teiste süsteemidega ja SuccessFactors üldiselt on ongi maailma enim kasutatav suurtes firmades tarkvara personali juhtimiseks. 13 600 pluss ettevõtet seda kasutab ja üle 100 miljoni kasutaja maailmas. Ja täna me räägime siis nii-öelda sellest ühest konkreetsest moodulist, mis on siis talendiportfelli alla käib seal. Ja see on siis performance and goals'i moodul. Kui me midagi võtame kasutusele, eks ole, mingi süsteemi, siis me tahame, et ta annaks võimalikult kiiresti meile nii-öelda lisaväärtust, annaks tulemusi ja sellepärast meie ise arvame nii-öelda Põhjamaadest saadud kogemusele kui ka küsimustega, mille poole meile pöördutakse, et performance and goals ehk siis tulemuste ja eesmärkide juhtimise moodul on see, mis võiks tegelikult olla Eesti ettevõtete jaoks või Balti ettevõtete jaoks lihtsalt kasutatav. Ja põgusalt rääkida, mis see siis on, eks ole, et see aitab teil seada eesmärke, neid viia inimesteni, seada organisatsiooni tasemel eesmärke, seada iga inimese tasemel eesmärke, mida tema peab tegelema, õppima mingi programmi selgeks, kasvatama müüki, eks ole, juhendama teist töötajat, mis iganes need eesmärgid on. Ja lisaks sellele meil on vaja neid ju eesmärke võrrelda, saada selle kohta mingi statistikat ning üsna tavaline on see, et inimestele tehakse korra aastas siis nii-öelda see vestlus, kus siis arutatakse seda, et mis siis on saavutatud ja mida siis järgmisel aastal teha. Tegelikult see protsess peaks olema pidev ja seda performance and goals moodul ka võimaldab. Ja ta tegelikult on niisugune esimene moodul, millest alustada ja kui teil on juba olemas mingisugune palgaprogramm, mis ka loodetavasti on mingi pilvepõhine lahendus, modernne lahendus, siis see täiustab seda ja annab sellele nii-öelda lisavõimalusi juurde, et annab lisandväärtust sellele. Aga mu presentatsioon siin, mis ma ekraani peal jagan, see on pikk, siin on päris palju veel lisainfot. Ma jagan seda presentatsiooni.
Siin meil ei ole valik.
Ja peale kõne lõppu.
Kes ei ole nõud, et nad lähevad kunnaks.
Jah, et keegi vist räägib, et võitleb jutte peale.
Pärast on meil ju neid inimesi vaja.
Aga et selle performance goals'i kohta lisainfo siin presentatsioonis, selle me jagame teile edasi. Saate selle kõik endale meili peale või siis alla laadida. Aga praegu ma läheks edasi siis inglise keele peale, juhataks sisse meie järgmise külalise, kes siis on Soomest SAPi kontorist, SAPi inimene ja kes on siis räägib SuccessFactors'i teemadel natukene tema vaatevinklist. Eetu, I will now hand over the microphone to you and you can start with your presentation. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. So my name is Eetu Maustgaard. I work for SuccessFactors in Helsinki, Finland, and I represent SuccessFactors to our customers in Finland and also in the Baltic countries. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So very good. So a little bit in repetition to already what I hope I understood Roman was saying. My Estonian is a bit rusty, so I will be talking in English. But let's say a few words about SAP SuccessFactors in general. SAP SuccessFactors has been around for around 20 years and has been part of SAP since 2010. after which it has been strongly developed and continues to be strongly developed as our principal HR tool. What we talk about nowadays when we talk about human resources management, what we actually talk about is human experience management. The reason, of course, being that instead of thinking of people as resources or capital, which is quite a cold and outdated way to go about it, it is very important that we remember that all employees are human beings with opinions, desires, fears, etc. And the better we are able to manage their experience as our employees, the better they will be engaged, the better our business will do. And let's say the way that we create a superior employee experience is of course that we listen to our employees, we understand their requirements, and we act upon what we hear and what we understand, so that we make sure that our employees understand what is their role in the organization, what it is that they are measured on, and how they can be successful in their day-to-day jobs. Let's say regarding SuccessFactors globally, so we are our solution is rapidly growing around the globe. We have customers in over 180 countries with 150 million users. 4,000 of our customers are already using our core component, which is called Employee Central. I will come to this in a short moment. As Roman already showed in his slides, we have a completely open ecosystem, meaning that we allow both our partners and our customers to develop extensions to our solution. So while, let's say, the standard functionality and processes in SuccessFactors is already very rich and able to cover requirements of most companies, there is always the need for niche requirements, and therefore there are currently over 250 partner extensions available to our customers that are seamlessly integrated with the SuccessFactors suite. Very important thing is that we, of course, while being a global solution, need to ensure that our solution works also locally. It is localized to fit the legal requirements in 99 countries, including Estonia. We offer the user interface currently in 43 languages. Out of the Baltic countries, we currently offer it in Lithuanian, but with Latvia and Estonia also in the near horizon. And let's say, last but not least, SAP SuccessFactors has a very broad partner ecosystem for implementing and offering continuous services to our customers, Prominion being the foremost in Estonia and the Baltics. A little bit about our customers. So while we do have many very large customers globally, with organizations with over 100,000 employees, this is not to say that SuccessFactors is a solution tailored to fit only a large organization, as hopefully the logos on this page will show. SuccessFactors customers come from all different industries, whether from manufacturing to retail to fashion to public sector, and all sizes ranging from a global giant like H&M to smaller local organizations such as Caruna, and all are happily making use of what SuccessFactors can offer. Little bit about the SuccessFactors suite. So the suite itself is fully modular. We do not. It is not necessary to eat the whole elephant at once. So we do offer functionality to all necessary HR processes, such as core HR, which is employment lifecycle, master data, and organization. And then a foundation, which is a common component to all the different modules that we offer, meaning that regardless of where you start, whether it is from the core HR functionality or from performance and goals that we are talking about today, or any other, the foundation is something that always comes along with SAP SuccessFactors. And with foundation, we mean things such as our integration center, the mobile app, the employee profile, organization view, and much more. In addition to the core HR component, we of course have our talent management modules, and as said, these are all individual modules that our customers can start with without having technical requirement to go with several. So there is no need to start from core HR in order to, for instance, implement performance and goals. You can perfectly continue to operate your existing HR solution and your payroll solution, for instance, but run some of our talent processes in the side that are relatively easy to implement and also integrate to your existing landscape. In addition, as mentioned before, what is increasingly important is, of course, the experience management part, and this goes together with all different HR processes. So it is important that while we provide the tools for engagement to our employees, we also are able to listen and give and receive feedback from them regarding these processes and their day-to-day work. And lastly, of course, reporting is something that is built in all of the different components. So when you start using, let's say, a single module or one or two modules within the foundation, you also get the necessary reporting tools to visualize and share data regarding those processes. Unless there are any questions at this point, this was only a brief summary of what SuccessFactors is. Unless there are any questions, maybe we can hand over back to Roman and then to Tommi to take the experience.
Thank you very much, Eetu. I think the questions will be asked a bit later in the end of our webinar. Yeah, now I'm going to introduce our next speaker. Here is Tomi Saikonen, who is going to share with us his story regarding using of SAP SuccessFactors, particularly performance and goals model. The stage, so to say, is yours, Tomi, please.
Thank you, Evgeny, and it's great to see so many people interested in performance management this morning. I hope the weather is not as chilly in Estonia as it's in Finland at the moment, so we're running -14 at the moment. Famous question, can you see my slides?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, let me just re-share. What about now?
Yes, we can see.
Oh, great. Then let's launch. And in the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to tell you a story about how we in Caruna took a P&G module of SuccessFactors into use. So this is a case about Onni. Onni is the name of the system that we call it internally. And that was a result of the name competition among the employees. And the point here is that Onni it's a male first name in Finnish. It also means luck or success or happiness even. So it's a very positive thing. We wanted to brand this along the line of managing not performance but success, which is a bit more positive. So very few words about Caruna as company. So we are distributing electricity. That's our mission. And we aim at having 1 million satisfied customers, which is compared to the current situation, we have about 700,000 so-and-so satisfied customers. So we want to improve both the quality and quantity of the customers. And in order to do that, we are focusing our strategy on 3 areas. First being the customer-oriented and efficient core business, which is basically means that we want to be more effective, more customer-friendly in the daily processes. We also want to promote corporate citizenship and the reputation of this company, because Finns may know that we have had some issues in that front a couple of years back, and it's still showing. And in order to enable growth by acquisitions and mergers, we want to have good reputation as a partner, also introduce new services. We renewed our values 2 years ago, and these are the new ones. I dare to act with good energy and together. And those 3 are actually the culture that we want to move towards. So we had some issues in, for example, collaboration. That's why we are together as a value. We were too cautious. That's why we have I dare to act as value, and so forth. The key figures are here. So our net sales are about 470 million euros. And we invest back about 1/3 of that to the grid. So we are building a weatherproof grid to resist the storms. We are putting cable underground quite a lot. We also want to invest in the grid to make it compatible with the future sustainability and renewable energy sources. We have a pretty sizable grid. We have actually 21% of the Finnish distribution market at the moment. It's a regional monopoly, so there's no real competition. But anyway, you can make adjustments when it comes to, for example, buying and selling the grid. 56% of that is underground at the moment, and putting cable underground is not the only way to make it weatherproof, but it's one of those ways, and perhaps the most discussed at the moment. From HR perspective, we are employing 314 professionals. So what Eetu said about the SuccessFactors suitability to smaller companies, it's also very like, how would I say, flexible in that, and it's perfect solution for our size. Of those 314, about 3/4 have a university degree, either as a lower or MSc or BSc degree. Average age has been 39 years for years, but now it's just jumped to 40 in this last year. And finally, 41% of our employees are ladies, which is a great step towards diversity in engineering business. We are very proud of the Great Place to Work certificate we got a year and a half ago. So now we got in 2020, second time in a row. We are not among the 30 best in our industry or in our small and medium-sized companies range, but we are aiming towards that top 30 list. And I'm sure someday we will get there. And regarding the challenges coming from the environment, so I think this slide could work in almost any industry at the moment. So everybody is worried about the climate change. Everybody is working with digitalizing the services, and also recognizing the fact that people are, at least in many countries, moving from countryside to cities. And where we play a part in this picture is mainly the climate change. So we want to enable our customers to use solar and wind power in our grid, We want to ourselves be as CO2 efficient as possible and so forth. So that was about the company and the background. So and if you have any questions, so please put them in the chat and we will handle them at the end of the presentation. This is a sanitized version of our strategy slide from 2019. So the point to raise here is that we had these 5 key initiatives, and under each we had these 2 or 3 projects. And for example, we had this culture initiative number 4 here, and one of the actions was to change our performance management and improve it to the next level. And this was driven by the fact that we need a performance management process to support the strategy and also drive the new culture in the company. So we realized back then, a few years back, that we need to work with the culture in order to make our strategy more achievable. Sorry about the Finnish in these word clouds. I couldn't find any English versions at this point. But to summarize, what people were happy about was the atmosphere, the colleagues in the teams, the people, the company benefits, and the way we can arrange work in a quite flexible way. So already before this pandemic, we had quite a lot of sizable amount of work done remotely in different places. On the negative side, so development area side, what came across was besides the workload, transparency, lack of collaboration, lack of fairness, and those 3 red ones we definitely wanted to address also using the new performance management process. A bit busy slide, but I still would like to go through this because this is quite, I would say there are many companies struggling with the same issues. So in our case, we had 4 major problems in the process as it was back in 2018. Thread number 1, the ball there, is about the lack of documentation. So we had this ERP, we still have the ERP called IFS, a bit like SAP, like ERP, very user unfriendly, very hard to find what you want, not designed for HR purposes really at all. So the problem was that we had our bonus goals in that system, but we didn't have any documentation behind those goals, didn't have any proper performance discussion documented anywhere. We just had the bonuses, we had the results. And number 2, coming from that, when we did our salary increase rounds, there was very little data from the performance side, if at all. So it was really salaries were adjusted totally regardless of the performance, which was a separate thing. Number 3, the talent review process, as I'm sure many of your companies as well have, was done on PowerPoint, and it was totally detached from the performance management process. So we really just evaluated persons and did not have any frame for that. And finally, the development discussions, yes, we had those, and people were even happy part with those, but they were very long. They covered all things, you can see in these bullet points. It was very extensive discussion, and again, the documentation was in a Word document somewhere in the ERP or then in SharePoint. So all in all, we had very old-fashioned way of conducting performance management, even if the elements were there. So regarding the principles we wanted to have with the new process, they are here. So it was mainly about moving towards holistic performance appraisals, including both what and how elements, and not focusing on bonus goals, but talking about total performance, and first of all, have it well documented. We actually didn't implement this clock speed change from 12 months to 6 month cycles because we were a bit worried about the workload of the managers, and also our business is not that fast moving that we would have needed this 6 month cycle. But I know many companies, also my previous employers, have used that, so it's very good in many places. Transparency came across also from the Great Place to Work studies, that people were suspicious of they couldn't really trust how the goals were set, whether evenly hard or were similarly fairly set to the colleagues as to themselves. Total performance rating, we wanted to have like one rating, and I will talk about that later. However, we did not want to have any calibration or forced distribution, as also has been custom in many companies, but we wanted to keep it light. Also, we discussed about the competencies, what's their role in this performance appraisal, because some people say that competence as such is no ground for any performance merits. It's how you use your competence and what are the results based on the better competence that then are rewarded. Peer feedback, that was a nice to have feature we listed. And first of all, we realized very soon that we need a new IT system. So we then moved on and defined a bit more at what we want. So as already said, we wanted to go towards systematic success management and also like tackle harder on the low performers and reward better the successful ones. Having a transparency on the goals and first and foremost, not to load the managers too much with the new tool and new process. So we actually wanted to save time from the managers by having a modern IT solution. We also had the IT specs. We want to have a cloud-based GDPR compliant solution, as anybody wants. And we realized that the less we have customizations, the better. So we tried to keep them to absolute minimum. And maybe interfaces was one of the areas we needed to do some tailoring. Modular solution, we wanted to have a software that you could basically build later, expand later. We realized that we have to carry on using the old ERP because that was the solution selected by the finance function, and we really couldn't start having a separate HR master solution. And then we also prepared for the second phase, which was about the development and succession module. And as you could see in Eetu's presentation, that was one of the SuccessFactors modules we then took into use half a year later. And then we had this tough schedule requirement. We want to have this all done in 6 months. So starting in summer, going live on January 2019. First, we wanted to have a like management discussion about were they in agreement of those principles I just talked about. Did they support this solution? We also wanted to have 2 clear lists, must-haves and nice-to-have lists, in order to evaluate the providers that, okay, where can we budge and where we have to keep the features. And we actually employed a consultant in doing the market research. Then we came up with 3 offers, and the outcome was that we chose SuccessFactors, and the implementation partner was, actually we had 2 different partners offering SAP or SuccessFactors, but we then chose this Pasofin Oy. The challenges were the usual, so the tight schedule, especially in our case, because we tried to squeeze it in 6 months frame, which was very ambitious, and actually the supplier told us it can't be done. And those schedule issues we basically tackled by ensuring the commitment of every person in the project and prioritizing this in their workload, having discussions with the managers. So prioritization came one. We had a luck of having a very good project manager. She was very whiplash type of manager and running a really tight ship. So sometimes we even quarreled. There was sparks flying, but she kept it all on track, which I'm very grateful about. And also her practice was good that as soon as we started, we booked every necessary meeting from June to December and January in the beginning. And also one good thing was that regarding change management, that we decided to involve a specialist from our strategy team, because performance management is very much about bringing strategy to employees and aligning the goals. So she was also a good member of the team. We were a bit worried about how employees would take this new performance rating, because traditionally they didn't really get any like hard feedback or proper feedback, let alone any like official type of rating. So we decided to put more effort than usual in the change plan. We wanted to have a reference group of employees where we could test ideas that would this work, would this kind of rating be good, how about the criteria, and so forth. And also regarding this role setting. So our ICT and the SF project was very much geared on the technical solution and implementing that. Then HR strategy took care of the communications and rollout plan and other change management measures. And we started change management on the day of the making decision. We started to communicate immediately that there will be a new system, there will be a new process. Stay tuned. Sorry again about the Finnish language here, but the point is that this is our performance rating model that is also visible in the SuccessFactors solution, that each manager, first of all, each employee is rating him or herself in 5 categories, which are the rows here in the table, and then the columns are the, let's say, ratings from best to worst. And I think the psychologically good thing in this kind of performance rating table is that, as you know, people are quite shy to put people in the last column on the right. So this good but needs development is basically, in many cases, it's very close to the does not meet expectations, but it's still like positive. That yes, you are doing still okay, but there's a danger that if you don't do anything to your development, you may fall to the last category, which is does not meet expectations. And in that category, we then start discussing formally about the performance and set like small short-term goals and see how it goes. In the extreme cases, then exit people. As you can see, these criteria to be evaluated include both what and how elements, and also how the competence is developing. And then the manager makes his or her version, looking at the employee rating, agrees or disagrees, has a discussion, and then finally gives a like overall rating on this scale 1 to 4. So to summarize, the key changes we introduced was the transparency, and that was a system feature we were very happy about. So the SuccessFactors enables you to put the transparency on, so to speak, so that anybody can see anybody's goals. Of course, we are not sharing the results, but we are sharing the goals. And this really helps when you can, for example, say that, hey, I have this good objective that is related to your project as well. Please go and copy it to your plan by a few clicks. And also chaining objectives is easy, that you can say as a manager that I want you to have these and these, please come and copy them, or I will drop them to your plan alternatively. And this perception of openness, even if you didn't ever go and see what your neighbor is doing in goals, still, if you know that you have the opportunity, that increases trust tremendously. Feature number 2, really good, is this ongoing feedback module called continuous performance management, where you can go a bit deeper from the traditional goal setting and evaluation cycle. You can break down the goal to activities, and most important of all, you can give feedback on anything. You can also ask for feedback from the colleagues that, okay, please go and rate, give me feedback on this project I did with you. Did I succeed? What should I do differently next time? And then you start to collect your own feedback, which is like a treasure in a way. And you can choose if your manager sees that feedback or not. So if you get negative feedback, you can also choose not to show it. And that was actually really well received. About 230 persons have given over 3,000 feedbacks in this period. So really like good initial start. This is my last slide, I believe, about the lessons learned. So as you may have already learned, so the tool is really flexible in many ways. And I urge you to strip it down even further as much as possible. For example, the default chain of document flow in performance management is 8 steps, but we cut it down to 5 because we cut, for example, those calibrations and back and forth stages. And also the second level approval was something we cut to keep it simple and efficient. Language, it was advertised that they have local languages, and yes, they do. SAP has, but I would like you to check first that before you decide to go on Estonian or Latvian or whatever, Lithuanian or Finnish, because at least in Finnish those translations are very clumsy at times, and they require you to translate them again in many places. So we discussed about the importance of planning ahead in good time, And also this support from the figureheads, the CEO, CFO, they need to be 100% speaking for the system, not just nodding, but actively speaking. And this reference group I really recommend you have if you go to implementation, because it's a great sounding board that, okay, to ensure that we're going to the right direction. I'm a bit suspicious about change agents because I've trained many teams of change agents, volunteers, and in many cases they just go back to their work and are quiet. So I would rather invest in this, having these good one-to-one discussions with key stakeholders who really matter, the leading experts, the most important managers and so forth. And yeah, finally, I think the reason I'm speaking to you today is that this project implementation won gold last year in this SAP Quality Awards competition about the implementation this size of companies range. So that was my presentation, and I guess now it's time for questions.
Thank you very much, Tony. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, I think it's right time to bring them up. But we already have one question from Karin. Karin Randla, who already uses SAP SuccessFactors, and she has asked when the Estonian and Latvian language will be able in the system. And I'd like to address this question to Eetu. Maybe you can give us some idea regarding this topic.
Yeah, it's a good question. Good question, and a little bit, let's say, we are of course from a sales point of view working towards this all the time, but it's sort of also a, let's say, the chicken and the egg sort of question, because of course translating the system is always an investment. And always goes hand in hand a little bit with okay, how many customers do we have currently using or about to start using? So basically, let's say when we have a sufficient amount of discussion ongoing that our customers in these countries will start using. Then let's say the discussion also for the local language accelerates quite a bit. With that said, let's say we do have experience from projects in countries where a local language did not yet exist, that there is a possibility to also do manual configuration of the language. Let's say in performance and goals, for instance, it is possible to create forms and views in local language, even though the official language pack would not yet be in place.
Okay. So another question I have for Tomi. First of all, Johan, thanks you for the presentation. And the question is, what are the few biggest benefits that you have noticed after you started using SAP SuccessFactors?
I would say number one is the quality of the objectives, because now we get more. It's easier to check and easier to see and compare that what is the documentation and reporting for HR is now more possible, because in the old system it was really painful and manual to get any data out of, for example, that how many people have chosen this objective, do the right people have the objective, and are the results even the same when the results come, that you have it all across. So we have these common company goals, and it's very easy to manage them, drop them down to everybody's plans, and then also put the results in a centralized way. So there's less errors, there's more clarity. I think it's more about the management of the objectives.
Okay, thank you very much. I have one more question from Eva. So what can be your main recommendation for the organization who is going to, choose or pick up some HR software?
That's a good question. So I think the most important thing is to do the shopping list. That okay, what do we want to have and what would be nice to have, and then really analyze the options. That what you can do. Because for example, in our case, we would have wanted to have certain more features, but we just couldn't. And then there was the alternative going for the more expensive solution, or then taking this more cost-efficient solution, but dropping the requirements. And I think requirements management is the word here.
Okay, thank you very much. I have one more question from Karin Randla. The question is, will you plan to use also recruitment and onboarding models in your organization?
We discussed that, but actually we settled on a small startup solution that was very how would I say, fresh and modern. And I don't actually know the module recruitment and onboarding module of SAP or SuccessFactors, but this third-party solution was better, because this is a module where we don't need integration to the master data. So we could choose this standalone solution here, which was also very inexpensive. The module we are now using two modules, P&G and development and succession, which is also working fine. I think the next module, if and when we do that, will then be the master, the employee central. But that would then require a change in the architecture, because now our master data is in the ERP, and that would then change the master data to SuccessFactors and then turn the integration the other way around. So I'm a bit hesitant because of the costs at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much. I have one more question from Eva. It's a bit tricky one, but she's asking, what were the biggest failures with implementing the SAP SuccessFactors? Failures,
Yeah. I'm trying to think that what could I say here. It would be silly to say that there were no failures, but there were no major failures or important failures. A lot of small things, obviously, there were, but I think we had bigger problems with the development module, because there we didn't take this role-based competence structure into use, and that then led to the fact that our competence management on the development module was not that great. But regarding P&G, so sounds silly, but I really can't think of any major problem or hiccup. I think the usual ones that people are still struggling in creating high quality objectives, and we need to, I wouldn't say HR is a police here, but HR needs to monitor the process, but because of transparency, that's now easier. Thank you.
I can see that Johan Trent, here is. Just 1 second. So before the implementing, what would be the first step to start using SuccessFactors? What would we need to consider? Yeah, what would we need to consider? What can be the first step?
I think I would say that let's start with analyzing the current state and what are the needs. So what is the goal? What do you want to achieve by using SuccessFactors? And then also maybe checking the overall IT architecture of the company, because it's really that you don't make any decisions in isolation, so to speak, that it's not only HR but the whole company's IT, that how does it sit in the architecture, what kind of integrations would you need. So if you want to have this data in SuccessFactors, is it easy to get from the master module or where? So this kind of big picture, I would say.
Thank you very much. One more question. Here is In your practice, do the users also use performance and goals model in the mobile app, in their smart device?
No, they don't, and that's a funny thing. We have wondered why, because they use the work time checking. They like check in and out to the work with the mobile app, but they are not using SuccessFactors in mobile. So we haven't really put any effort on that. Maybe it's because everybody has a laptop and it's so easy to have a big screen.
Interesting. Thank you. Thank you. So at the moment, I don't have any more questions. Now I'm switching myself into Estonian maybe. Ja tahaks seda öelda, et meie tänane webinar on lõppemas nüüd ja aitäh kõigile osalemise ja huvitavate küsimuste esitamise eest. Mul on väga hea meel, et te kõik olete tulnud täna vaatama meie webinari ja ma siiralt loodan, et leidsite vähemalt ühe huvitava mõtte, kuidas luua parem töötajakogemus oma organisatsioonis. I'd like to say thank you to all our today's webinar speakers. We are grateful for the time and effort you took to share your experiences and thoughts with us today. Thank you very much. Ja veel kord kõigile aitäh ja kohtumiseni.